Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Del Green, and I'm the current DRFCC, which is the District Rotary Foundation Committee Chairperson for District 5000. It's kind of a mouthful. I want to begin by thanking Dr. James Ham and Arjun Ariel for that wonderful international service and global grant presentation that immediately preceded this particular planning session. This morning, we heard about all the different things that we can do through the foundation to support our district grants or global grants and what have you. In this session, which is primarily directed toward the foundation, club foundation committee chairs, club presidents, and what have you, we're going to talk about the things that we can do to plan to help raise the monies to help support these district grant projects and global grant projects and what have you. I'm going to begin with just a quick overview of the team. To help you, we have a DRFC, a District Rotary Foundation Committee. I'm Del Green. I'm the chair of the committee this year. We have as our District Grant Subcommittee Chair, we also call him the Vice Chair for the DRC, David Majran. David is from the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunrise. There you go. I saw his hand up. We also have various other committees. We have the Annual Fund Committee, which is headed by Dick May, who's a member of the Rotary Club of Kapolei. We also have with us our Endowment and Major Gift Subcommittee Chair, Rick Goba, who hails from the Rotary Club of Poipu Beach. For Polio Plus, we have the lovely past District Governor, Roz Cooper, who is with the Rotary Club of Metropolitan Honolulu. Somebody who many of you probably have already interacted with is our District Grant Subcommittee Chair, which is Dave Hamill, and Dave is with the Rotary Club of Waikiki. Global grants, we have Arjun, who spoke earlier this morning, and James Ham. They're both with the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunset. We also have Mariko Higashi, who is with the Rotary Club of Lahaina. One of the Lahaina clubs, I believe Sunset, but we're very fortunate to have her as part of our team. The Grants Stewardship Subcommittee Chair is Laura Stillquist, past District Governor Laura Stillquist, who goes from the Rotary Club of East Honolulu. She's very helpful. She helps us get qualified. She's also the person who might tap us on the shoulder when we're not qualified. So she's kind of wearing two different hats there. In the area of recognitions, we have Triple Crown Subcommittee Chair Dave Majran, who is also wearing multiple hats. He's not only the DGSC, but he's also our Triple Crown Committee chairperson. He's from the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunrise. The White Hat Society is Paul Jursak from the Rotary Club of Honolulu Sunset. We have the Paul Harris Society. Now, Paul Harris Society is pretty important because, as a little bit of trivia, the two categories of contributors to the Rotary Foundation, the largest categories of foundations are number one, people who are sustaining members, people who give $100 a year. So those by far exceed, these major donors like Arch Club Society, what have you. The other large category is the Paul Harris Society. These are the ones who give $1,000 a year, and this is headed by Virginia Jr., who is with the Rotary Club of Hilo Bay. Our alumni subcommittee chair is Steve Dyer from the Rotary Club of Pearl Harbor. Peace Fellows, and we're going to hear from him a little bit later too, is Alan Kusunoki from the Rotary Club of Hilo. Our grants audit team is Ron Young from the Rotary Club of West Honolulu. I already mentioned our international service chair, James Ham, earlier. And we're going to round it out by recognizing past District Governor Naomi Masuno from the Rotary Club of West Honolulu, who is our foundation trainer. We're very fortunate to have her. With that, I'm going to take a deep breath and turn it back over to Naomi.
Thank you. So we're really happy that you're here today to hear and share best practices on what we can do for World Polio Day coming up in October and Foundation Month in November. But just remember that the Rotary Foundation is our engine that drives all of our humanitarian service with their grants. And that money that your club members give is what comes back for you to do your grants. So, this is one of the projects that we did internationally that Mark Harbison was very instrumental in, and it was an eye clinic in India. But we've done projects all over the world that we are really proud of. But over the 100 years, well, more than 100 years, $4 billion in contribution, and this money really gets put to good use around the world. So the Club Foundation Committee, here's the job description from Rotary International, but the primary responsibility is to inspire your club members to give to the foundation because of what it can do around the world and locally. So you might not be able to be there digging holes, but Rotary can supply funds and have these projects. But your responsibility is to, and like Rick says, if can, if no can, no can, but see what you can do. And so we want you to try and be the ambassador, the subject matter expert in your club, and maybe people on your committee can take parts of it. So you can do people with grant management, others will do the Polio Plus, and so it spreads out the work, so it's not all on one person's shoulder. So it's motivating the club members, try and have 4 motivational foundation programs, or even a Rotary Minute or something to encourage giving. Help your treasurer get that money to the foundation so that it's credited correctly to whoever is giving the funds, and then work with your membership to ensure that there's a positive image and experience. So for grant management, you could do this, or it could be someone else doing it, but it's promoting the grants, going to the grant management seminar, and overseeing the process. Okay, so ways that you can educate your club and also the community is to share on your website, on your social media, stories about what your club is doing with your foundation money. And then if you have community events that is it was funded by the Rotary Foundation, you might want to put some brochures out, or a sign that says it is funded by the foundation. Invite alumni to speak at your club meetings. Invite some of the international service people to come and speak about some of the projects that they've done. Okay, so supporting the foundation, there are 4 buckets that you can put in. So annual fund is what you support today. Endowment fund, which is what Rick Gold is going to be talking about later, to secure future. And by the way, the earnings from the endowment fund do come to back to us to use for our grants. So we normally get maybe $12,000 to $15,000 in earnings from the endowment fund each year. Then we have the Polio Plus fund, and then we have others like the disaster fund. So when you look at what you give to the share program, annual foundation share, that money comes back to us in 3 years, and that's what we use for our district grants and the global grants. So when you get that check for your projects from the grant district grant team, please announce to your club that that money is their money that they donated and is coming back so that they can do these projects. So some ways to give: you can go to Rotary on and do it online. You can sign up for Rotary Direct and have it a recurring, like $10 a month or $100 a year. You can have it so it's automatic. You can donate in someone's name in memory of someone. You can have a recurring giving plan. You can have a planned giving, estate planning, an IRA rollover to give it to the foundation so it's not in your taxable income. You can name a fund in your name or the club's name, and then endowment. And if you have corporate matching where your company will match what you give, that's another way to increase your giving. So donor recognitions, Rotary wants to recognize people for their giving and inspire other people to give. So you, these are your recognition levels. Sustaining member is $100. Benefactor is $1,000 pledged from your estate. A Paul Harris Fellow is when you hit $1,000 benchmark. Then multiple Paul Harris Fellow levels. Then you have the Paul Harris Society. We'll talk about that later. Bequest Society, Major Donor, Arch Clump, Triple Clown. These are all some levels that you can look at giving and inspiring people with these recognitions. Okay, so here's Dave Mostrin giving a Paul Harris Fellow certificate to someone, and that's the pin. And every time you reach $1,000 level, you get another pin. And when you get up to like 6,000, it's like rubies. So, you know, you would get sapphires to begin with and then rubies to end. Okay, so, you know, one of the things coming up is World Polio Day, and here's some pictures, but Roz is going to talk to you about World Polio Day and Polio Plus. So, Roz?
Thanks, Naomi, and it's great seeing everyone here this morning. World Polio Day, that is an important time for us. World Polio Day highlights the global efforts to end polio worldwide, something that we've been trying to do for quite a while now. Polio is a life-threatening disease caused by the polio virus, which the World Health Organization committed to eradicate in 1988. World Polio Day, which is the 24th of October, provides an opportunity to highlight the global efforts and raise awareness and resources toward a polio-free world. World Polio Day is observed to honor the birthday of Dr. Jonas Salk, who led the development of this first polio vaccine. So as members of your club who may be your foundation coordinators, what are you doing? What is your club doing? How are you helping your club? And this is a great question. You, as your foundation chairs and presidents in your club, the first thing you should do is to make sure your club has set your goals. It's already October, maybe almost. And as of today, 27 clubs have set their Polio Plus goals and 26 clubs have not. It is important that you do this. If you are one of the 26 have not clubs, please work with your clubs to establish and record these goals. Next, Naomi. So how do you get your club involved? And I think the way you started is to understand why. Know why you're doing it or why you're asked to do this. There are 20 million people walking on Earth thanks to Rotary beginning this effort to eradicate polio. We have gone from more than 25 endemic countries to only 2. And we have gone from 350,000 cases of paralytic polio per year to 6 worldwide cases. So how do you get your club started and how do you get your club involved? Well, a couple of things that you should know. Number one is make it fun. And then from there, you want to have a vivid, next slide, have a vivid community event, create a fundraiser, or share events on the social media. We'd like for you to share all of your events on social media. And then what we need you to do, make these events exciting. Share this with others in your communities, with others in clubs, and with even in your organizations where you work. So get everyone involved. But more importantly, when we do this, we need to have fun with it. Have a great time sharing these ideas with your club. But Rotary has also provided us some valuable resources. And these resources are in the form of posters, websites, anything that you may need to make, to get this point out and talk Rotary, talk polio eradication and have the clubs understand what's going on. This is the only way we are going to get the support is if we can show and explain and have a conversation with our club and our club members about what's going on and how we fighting this battle. But more importantly, too, is to become a Polio Plus Society member. But then you need to know why, and you need to know how as well. The Polio Plus Society is an organization of individuals who are and have made the commitment to contribute $100 or more each and every year to Polio Plus until the world is declared free of the wild polio virus. This is our commitment to fulfill the promise Rotary made in 1985 to immunize all the children of the world. So once we understand the why, how do we do this? What are the steps involved in doing this? So what we want to do is to, number one, complete the pledge form. Make a donation. That donation could be $100 or more through credit card to the Rotary Foundation, by check, or it can be Rotary Direct. Rotary Direct is a way that we can do it. That's, I call it error-proof, because the contributions are going to be made on time and on target, and you haven't too much to worry about. So this is what we can do. As foundation chairs in your club, if you are not already, lead by example and become a Polio Plus Society member. You will be amazed at the impact it will have on other members of your club. Next. And of course, the biggest incentive is the Gates Challenge, the 2-to-1 match. Rotarians have given $1.4 billion to polio eradication, with matches from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation of $1.258 billion. We have allocated nearly $2.7 billion to polio eradication. Thanks to the generosity of Rotarians, to you, the Rotary Foundation allocated $155 million to polio eradication this year. Let's make this a banner year for the Rotary District 5000. And one of the ways to do this is to have your clubs engaged and excited about Polio Plus and eradicating polio and the World Polio Day. Share the dates with them, share the times with them, show them what we're doing, what we have been doing over the years. And if you need any help with any of this, please don't hesitate to contact me. We can help you in any way we can. And mahalo nui loa for your support and being here this morning. Any questions?
Yeah, I had one. Chris Paddock here. If you donate to the PPS, do the contributions also give you credit for Paul Harris Fellow? Because it goes through TRF.
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Yes, it does.
And my other question went back to Naomi's discussion.
And another thing too, when Naomi was looking at the contributions and the recognitions, one thing that's left off of that is a Polio Plus Society, because that is a contributable project, and we should be, you are recognized when you make your contribution or when you become a Polio Plus Society member. So hopefully we will add that to our list. Yes.
And my other question was, how many clubs are really aiming to be 100%, well, PPS or Paul Harris Fellow clubs?
But we have, as far as 100% club, Paul Harris Society Club, or 100% contributing club, we had 100% of clubs contributing to Polio Plus last year, and we hope to do the same. In order to have 100% of the clubs being Polio Plus Society members, every member in that club should make a contribution of $100. As it stands now, we do not have a club that is 100% Polio Plus Society contributing club. Hopefully we will have at least one this year. So it's
To go-
something we can do. We can educate our club members and we can show them more about what it's about. And go out on the 24th when we have World Polio Day. Let's do something exciting and let's engage our members and have them excited about the Polio Plus Society and World Polio Day. Any other questions? Okay,
Okay.
Naomi, I think I will turn it back over to you.
Okay,
I
great.
don't see.
And if you go to the district website, that QR code is there, and the form is on the home. You can click on something to get to that form to make that pledge. And when you make the pledge, you get a pretty cool pin, right, Roz? Get a pin
Yes, you
for being
do.
a Polio
Sign
Plus
up.
Society member.
You do, and what we like is we'd like to see you wear these pins. It gives me great pleasures when I see someone attend a meeting or attend an event and you're wearing your Polio Plus Society pin. So if you want to know more about that, or if you are a Polio Plus Society, looking at becoming a Polio Plus Society member, just let me know and we'll come to your club and make a presentation to you and to your club. Naomi,
Kara
you have
has a question. Kara has a question. Kara?
Roz, you're inspired me to fill out my Society Plus card. I'm on it right now, but I don't know my Rotary ID or my Rotary Club number. Where do I find that?
Well, you can find it on your Rotarian magazine that you get in the mail, or if you like, I can email it to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay,
But
so
good
if you
question.
would put your email address in the chat, I'll send it to you today.
Good question.
Thank you.
But also
And
everyone.
thank you for becoming a Polio Plus Society member this morning. You
All
are
right.
inspiring.
Yep. And as a reminder to everyone, if you go to rotaryD5000.org to your personal profile, you can find your club number and your ID number in the Rotary website as well as the district and the Rotary website, but it's easier to go to the district website. Chris, your question about the earnings from the endowment fund, it goes into the pot to the district. It doesn't go to the person. So let's see, we're going to the next presenter, and that is the annual fund with Dick May.
Thanks very much, and thanks all for joining us today. For the last 2 years of my tenure as the annual giving chair, we run a small contest among clubs, a little gentle competition to try to increase giving in the clubs. We're going to do that a little differently this year. And as a stage setter, we actually are doing pretty well through this month in annual giving. But Foundation Month is ahead, and much of the year is ahead that we need to work on how our giving will occur. The other issue is that there's dramatic circumstance changes with some clubs. We have people in this audience who don't know what their future will look like because they've lost their homes and possessions in the fires in Lahaina. So a one-size-fits-all approach to the clubs and competition probably doesn't work so well. We're going to work with you in an individual manner to see what works best for your club. But a question I've had from several folks is, okay, I give at club meetings. I do Happy Dollars. I'm asked to give to the Rotary Foundation. The district's got a foundation and they're collecting money that we're using for support for Lahaina. We've got club dues. Where does all that money go? I suggest that as club presidents and foundation chairs, as club leaders, we need to make it clear to people that which items we allocate toward the foundation, our 501c3 that does all the good work that we've just talked about, and which of those goes for the housekeeping functions and the things we want to do, club dues, Happy Dollars, and so forth. Next slide, please. Okay, so the purposes are many, and obviously some of the donations are tax deductible and some are not. The Rotary Foundation is donations are fully tax deductible. And when you give, whether you give to the polio fund, the general fund, whether you give to the annual fund, whether you give as a benefactor, it all goes to the Rotary Foundation and it is tax deductible. Some, however, of your clubs, many clubs don't have a foundation. So if you're giving money for a club project or Happy Dollars or something else, those are not tax deductible. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that if we look at fundraising, Rotary.org is a good way to go in and look at doing good. I would suggest first and foremost that it's best if a club has everybody in the club making a donation, however small. That enables your club actually to compete for some awards that other clubs may not be able to if they don't have 100% participation. But it also is a relatively painless way. Once you've established the goal of giving a small amount on a regular basis and it's automatically deducted, it's sort of in the background, and all of a sudden you're amazed at how much you have done when we recognize you for the aggregation of your funds. Consider starting a fundraiser. Here's a fundraiser challenge. Maybe your club doesn't have a lot of people who have large amounts of money to give, but they have time and enthusiasm. So think about a fundraiser of some sort that you can do that will benefit the foundation. It doesn't have to exclusively be for the foundation. A portion of it could be for some club uses, as long as you are careful with donors that they understand which portion of it is non-tax deductible in that case. But for you and the club, having a fundraiser like this gives people a chance to participate and help if they don't have a lot of dollars to give. We tend to bring in family and friends, which helps us with recruiting new Rotarians. So consider this. Maybe one of our breakout groups would like to tackle the idea of what kinds of fundraisers might be good to plan. Next slide, please. We've talked about working with the clubs on an individual basis, and Del Green has been absolutely great to work for. He's going to come out and talk to the Eva Beach and Kapolei clubs on November 16th. And at that time, we'll present white hats to two very deserving folks. And so both of us are willing to try to help wherever we can. And as your annual giving chair, I'm happy to work with you. I'm scheduled to speak to 2 clubs on Zoom in the next month, and happy to chat with more. Happy to travel to your island and help if we can do that. But I think the real bottom line is we would just like to work with you as club presidents and foundation chairs on sort of a club by club basis, see where you are and how we can help. Dave Mosdren has done some good work for us in arranging with the district to get quarterly data available, which will give us a more timely way to make decisions and help you to figure out where you are and where you need to go. So I guess the bottom line on this is it's just an offer that will work with you closely and help you as a club in your individual circumstances to do all you can do, Mala. That's it.
Awesome. Questions for Dick? Anyone? You do that raise.rotary.org is a really great fundraising tool because it's easier for the treasurer, because everybody goes online and makes that donation to Polio Plus or the annual fund or the disaster fund, and it goes straight to Rotary, and the people who donate will get their Paul Harris credit and a receipt from Rotary, and so it relieves the club of trying to fill out that paperwork and send it in, and then you have a friendly competition so people can ask their friends and family to put in, because it doesn't need to come in from your pocket, the member's pocket. It can come from outside help. Okay, so the team, Del, Dick, Roz, even Rick, right, and Dave, we're all ready to make a presentation at your club if you want to for Foundation Month or anytime. And they're very helpful. So we're going to go into breakout rooms now. In the breakout rooms, we're going to do 10 minutes, and it's just to share some ideas of how you increase donations from your club, if you have an innovative idea, or if you have a hurdle, something's not working and you want some advice from people. So let's break out into rooms, and then we pick one person to report back real quick for real briefly, and then we'll move on to other things. So I'm going to stop the share. We're going to pause this. Okay. So room one, got some great ideas to share.
I think we were room one,
Yep.
Naomi. There were a few things. One would be having an annual foundation event that was also a fundraising event and recognition. At your club meetings, having special speakers for actually for various funds. The example given was Paul Harris, but certainly all of these separate funds feed into the foundation. Sometimes it's overwhelming to hear about them all at once. So hearing about them, having special speakers throughout the year is I think a great idea. Offering matching through points and also incentives, recognizing those who do donate. Comment was made that it's the same people that contribute to the foundation all the time. So broadening that by letting everyone see the list of donors and possibly the levels of donation, honoring privacy when people want to be anonymous, and also doing other special events like walks to raise money like we do for Polio Plus, and offering options for donating were the things that were mentioned in our session.
Oh, you had a lively group. Okay, room two. Kara, Mickey, Nalani, Ralph, Ted.
Nalani, do you want to report for us?
And I was just about to say, Ted, you were the
Okay, I'll try and you can chime in. We have some clubs with challenges because they're smaller clubs or clubs with younger members. So finding ways to encourage donations has been a challenge in some of those areas. But we talked about things like encouraging members to use Rotary Direct. So even if you're a young person, you could set up Rotary Direct to have $5 go every month to the Rotary Foundation. And that's the cost of a fancy coffee at Starbucks. You're probably not going to notice that. And over the course of a year, that really adds up to a significant contribution to the foundation. So even, encourage people to give small amounts and make it regular and easy by just having it charged to your credit card. My club does a Polio Plus event every year for World Polio Day that we call Putting for Polio. And we go to a local mini golf course and they partner with us, giving us, not charging us for use of the course. And we invite friends and family and we do a little mini golf tournament and we have a set of prizes that we give out. And then we donate all of that money to Polio Plus. Also, some clubs, I think Virginia mentioned this already, do matching. So if you make a donation to the foundation in a certain time period, then the club has a drawing, and if your name's pulled, the club matches your donation either with club cash or with club points.
Awesome. Nalani, did he cover it? Oh, muted.
great job. Thank you, Ted.
Okay, so room three, let's do something different. Okay, room three, go ahead. That's Dave Junichi Rick.
Yes, this is Junichi. The one thing is to raise awareness of the members by showing by giving presentation, by showing the example of how the Rotary Foundation has done or how the club has done with their grants, and also talking to the foundation and the awareness things. Each club every week at the club meeting also important. And then Paul Harris Fellow can wear pins to show their status. And then matching with various promotion or something, like every Rotarian every year, or foundation celebration, 100% giving sustaining members, or such kind of the device that Rotary Foundation set is a very good, make a very good goal to the club for and to the members. And so baseline is everybody knows what everybody others are doing. And then one very interesting inspiration is to kind of gambling, but like a spinning wheel, and then collect the donation from the members, and then doing the spinning wheel, and then giving a foundation point that the club will be given, even a triple to raise the winning members to raise the next level of the Paul Harris Fellow.
Yeah, make it fun. Yeah, you better
Yeah,
reach out
very
and
fun.
touch somebody. Can you touch somebody? Maybe we can high five it. Hold hands.
Yeah.
Okay, so room 4, Chris, Eva, James, Ross.
James.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think one thing that Ava had a great point about just a monthly contributions, and it comes down to $83 a month. I know kind of in definitely on what Ted mentioned, $5 as a cup of coffee. Just $83 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you multiply it by 12, it comes out to $1,000. That's a Paul Harris Society member right there, right? And I guess if you're willing to go there, just running the numbers, $19 is a week, that's your Paul Harris right there too. So just kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, and I think Chris had a good point about just kind of clarifying, does me donating to Polio Plus contribute to Paul Harris? Does what levels of what? And I think that needs to be clarified, right? Because there's like these different pots you could donate to, and how does that actually trickle into? I think that just probably goes in line with a presentation, probably from someone from the foundation community to the club to kind of make that education. But lastly, I fall into the category myself personally of just needing to be reminded, and I always, I think attending Roz's presentation every year, I always, if you look at my dates of when I donate to the Polio Plus, I just probably goes in line whenever Roz gives a presentation. So just reminding people, hey, this is a good time of year, etc. But yeah, I think that's kind of our, in addition to others, what other people talked about. But Roz, anything else to add,
yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify, I did go to the website while we've been talking, and it does say contributions to these featured causes are eligible for Paul Harris Fellow recognition. The Annual Fund, the Polio Plus Fund, the World Fund, and then 3 disaster funds, the Disaster Response, Pakistan, Ukraine, and I think there's 2 more going to be coming up, and that's Morocco and Lahaina. Will be other boxes that may well appear in the next few weeks, and in the where you want to donate on the RA website.
Thank you. Okay, room 5, Alan, Daniel, Dick, Kimon.
Thank you much. Well, it was a fun group and got some interesting ideas. I'll touch on one thing, though, that we mentioned at the beginning that others have mentioned, and that is the importance of getting everyone involved in some easy way to give small amounts regularly. If your club is congratulating itself because you got a high per capita, but it's due to 1 or 2 well-to-do persons doing most of the donations, you're in trouble if they leave the club. So it's an everybody in idea. And Kimo had suggested creating an event that resonates with the local community, getting friends and family involved in it, and basically using that as a fundraiser that is community-based. Alan indicated that they had always used a Rotary Minute, and returning to a Rotary Minute focused on the foundation and on giving, that further then kind of relates to the areas of focus and what the club can do in relation to the areas of focus, helps everybody to find themselves in giving. And Danielle had I thought, a pretty neat idea. She has a piggy bank. She has a Rotary Foundation piggy bank. And so she's going to raid the piggy bank at a club meeting and announce the amount of money that she's raised. There it is in front of you. And then she's going to challenge someone else to be the next keeper of the piggy bank and to raise funds. And the goodness of this is that anyone raising funds and using the piggy bank is free to gently suggest to friends and stuff that they drop $1 or $2 in the piggy bank, that it goes for a great charity purpose. And you might be amazed how much we could raise. So those are the ideas.
Awesome. Great ideas that we're sharing here. Okay, so let's move on to endowment fund, and that is Rick Goba. Rick, here you go.
Thank you much. Thanks for all the great ideas too, folks. This area is going to talk about major gifts and the endowment in particular. If you could go to the next slide, please. So major gifts to the Rotary Foundation. The first major gift level is a single or a cumulative donation of $10,000 or more by an individual or a couple. You can see there are a bunch of different levels here. At the $250,000 cumulative giving level, you become a member of the Arch Clump Society. And those of you who are at Foundation 101 may remember the name of Arch Clump. He was the guy who started the Rotary International Foundation. And there are even levels here within the Arch Clump Society. So you can see if you have a mere $10 million to give to Rotary, you'll be in the Platinum Foundation Circle for Arch Clump Society. Next slide, please. Several people have already talked about giving on Rotary Direct, and this is what you will see when you go into the Rotary website to do the Rotary donation. And the couple of things I want to call out here are what you're looking at as selected items are defaults. But as Chris just mentioned, everything that you see here, Annual Fund Share, Polio Plus, Disaster Response, World Fund, all of those are all contributing to the foundation. Those are all getting you to a Paul Harris Fellowship level and also contributing to Paul Harris Society if that is what you choose to do. The one thing I will call out, if you select Annual Fund Share, that is when those monies will come back to the district in 3 years. For the Polio Plus, for the other things, that is not the case. On the right-hand side, that's the, oh, sorry. If you go back a slide, please. On the right-hand side here, you'll see the one-time donation or the recurring donation that people have been talking about. And again, one-time donation, note the default is $250. You can change that. Recurring donation, this I think really is the easiest way to do this. You can set up a monthly donation. As people said, $83 gets you Paul Harris Fellow, Paul Harris Society. I will tell you that $9 gets you into Polio Plus Society as well. So you can do that very easily through a recurring donation. The next slide, please. So what can you do to encourage giving? I mean, we just had the breakout sessions. We came up with some great ideas. But one of the big, and this is where, yeah, the if can, if no can, no can. This is where I kind of diverge from some folks. I kind of feel like if you could give to the foundation, fantastic. If you can't give to the foundation, that's okay too. I understand there could be people out there who say, look, I'm giving to my church. I'm giving to a hospital foundation, whatever it might be. And particularly with some of our younger members, we may find some people who just say, I don't have it. Encourage a lesser donation. The $10 a month is a great way to look at it. And, you know, I think putting it in terms of, you know, it's a pumpkin spice latte every month is a great way of getting this to go. But one of the things that you can do is tracking the donations, because once you know that someone is near a level, and they may not know, course, each person can track their own donations through Rotary.org as well. But here we're talking about what you can do, looking at My Rotary and the membership and foundation reports. And then under the area of contributions and recognitions, club giving, view reports, you will see what you see in blue here. And the one that I'm going to focus on is the club recognition summary, which we can see a little abbreviated version of that on the next slide here. So at the very top of this is for my club. At the very top of this, you see the Paul Harris Fellows, that you have the benefactors, all of those different things. The one other area I will point out is the Rotary Direct donors. In our club, we have 6 members who are Rotary Direct donors, and we have, I believe it's 28 actual members. So having 6 of us as Rotary Direct donors, I think is kind of a nice number on that. But then in the area below this, where you see the full header going across, the big thing to look at is the recognition amount. Because if you see someone who is close to the next level for a Paul Harris Fellowship, it's a great opportunity to encourage them to do an additional donation that will just top things up. So if you see someone who's sitting there at $6,790, another $110 they're going to get their next Paul Harris Fellowship. So it's a great way to encourage that to happen. 2 things I will comment about this reports in general. I am a MacBook user. You can't see these reports on MacBook on a Safari browser, so you have to use a different browser. I just go over to Chrome for that. But the other one, and this is true for anyone, once Paul Harris Fellowship Plus 8 is reached, which the next level there after that is major donor, it doesn't give you details on where they are. So if the next level for a major donor is $25,000, you may have a member who's at $24,962, and you don't know that for another, oh gosh, sure, I pick up one that's a tough number, for another $38, they could become a major donor level 2. You won't actually know that. You can reach out to the folks on the foundation committee. We actually have access to that information. We can help you out there. Next slide, please. So a couple legal disclaimers here. I'm not an attorney. You should consult an attorney for any estate planning that you're doing. And what I'm going to talk about in just a moment here is just to create some awareness. So let's talk about some of the documents that you want to have put together. On the next slide, please. So the first 2 are kind of an either or, looking at a last will and testament or a revocable living trust. Both of these are about how you're going to distribute your assets upon your death. And as someone who's gone through this a few times, I can tell you, it's a weird process. It's just weird because you're talking about what happens after you die. And it's weird. There's no other way to put it. But this is a very important thing to do. The thing with the living trust that's quite nice is it does ease the whole process of probate. And with a trust, what you can do is you can actually have the trust owning assets, like any real estate that you own, so that they are actually the owner. You are the administrator of the trust, so it all works out fine. The other thing you want to consider is beneficiary donations on designations on things like 401ks and that. And again, if you have a living trust, one of the nice things here is that you can have the living trust be the beneficiary of these things when you die. On the next slide, we're going to talk about some of the other things you want to consider, which are your healthcare directives, a living will type thing. Who makes medical decisions if you're incapacitated? And then also kind of the talk about all the things that you're willing to consider and not consider. Do you want to be put on a ventilator if there is no likelihood you're coming off of a ventilator? All of those sorts of things. This will save family and friends from kind of having to make some of those decisions in a pretty stressful situation. You could include a do not resuscitate clause in here, but I would say hold off on the DNR, the do not resuscitate. So you're kind of close to that point because you don't want them going, hey, they have a do not resuscitate clause. So thank you for playing. It's been great. And the other one is the financial power of attorney. This is determining who can make some decisions about your finances. And I will just share with you right now, we're selling my parents' house. My parents are both still alive. We're selling their house, but my brother has financial power of attorney, and it has eased this process so much that he, and you know, we're talking about it all through, but he is really able to make a lot of these decisions for them. The thing with all of these things, the wills, the trust, the beneficiary designations, all of this, you need to make this before you need them. you need to make all these decisions before you need them. An advanced healthcare directive kicks in when you're incapacitated. If you're incapacitated, you can't tell people what to do. So you need to make these decisions in advance. And of course, one of the decisions we'd like you to make, if you could go to the next slide, is to include the Rotary Foundation in your will or your living trust. And there are a couple different levels of recognition here. The first is a benefactor level. And this is where you commit $1,000 in your will or trust to the Rotary Foundation. The next level is the Bequest Society. This is where you contribute you commit at least $10,000 through the will or trust to the Rotary Foundation. And there are really two levels here that I want to speak of. The first one is the $10,000 level, which is the entry point for the Bequest Society, and that will get you into the bequest. The next one is $25,000. And the reason $25,000 becomes significant is at this level, you get the ability to have what is called a named fund. So if, for example, you want to create a scholarship that is for medical students who come from Spain, you could actually set that up and it could be designated with your name and for a very specific focus. And then for each additional $25,000, you can have another one of these named funds. They also recently added something new, which is called the Legacy Society, which is a commitment of $1 million or more to the Rotary Foundation. And you can see this gets you in the Rotary Annual Report, on the recognition wall at RI headquarters and things like that. The important thing to know, and this is true for, this is important for all of the bequest information, is that the initial funds are never going to be spent. We are looking at spending earnings only. Did we lose everyone?
We're still here.
They're still
Oh, okay.
here.
I totally lost the screen. Sorry, I totally lost the screen. That was weird. Okay, next slide, please, then. So how can you encourage legacy giving? Probably the best thing here is to invite an estate planning attorney to be your speaker. And the reason behind this is twofold. One, they can talk about all of these documents, and every single person's needs are different. And it's really important to sit down with an estate planning attorney. Until and unless you are introduced to one, you may not find this coming out. Just encouraging benefactor or bequest society donations is really key as well. We had our foundation event here on Kauai when John Teich and Shirley Grace were here. I believe that was February of last year. And just as a result of that, we got a bequest society donation. So letting people know about this. And the last key piece to this is if you do designate some monies to go to the foundation in a will or a living trust, you will know about it, but Rotary International will not. So you need to let RI know about this. And the reason that that's important is this allows them to do some planning. And you can see the URL here that you would go to do that. And then the little screen capture down below is what you will see when that comes up. The nice thing here is you'll notice there's simply a need more information area where you can say, what are my options? What can I do? And RI has a team of folks who will work with you on this. Of course, you can also just reach out to me and find out what options exist for you as well on this. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think people have questions for you,
Okay,
Rick.
I'm ready.
Okay, go at it, you guys.
Be gentle. Everyone shy.
Okay, would you suggest an attorney that might want to speak in
Well,
this area?
that's a great question. We have an attorney that we work with, but we're on Kauai. So I don't know a good attorney for your area. I could look into that for you though, and let you know. I can try to find some. We may even have some estate planning attorneys here in our district, and I can send something out to folks saying, here's a list of attorneys. But that's a great idea.
Yeah, I'd be reluctant personally to suggest a specific law firm, but I would suggest that if you look at law firms that specialize in estate planning, and revocable living trusts and those types of things, that's probably a pretty good place to start.
I mean, we got referred to our
Del might offer an opinion on that.
I'm sure we could come up with a list of names. We know lots.
There you go. So Del and I will work on that and we'll get a list out to you guys. Thanks. Other questions? Then I will give it back to you, Naomi.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, but if you want to ask a question privately to Rick, Rick is available, right, Rick? Okay, so let's go into some. Am I sharing? Okay, so let's look into some reports. Oh, sorry. Dave, are you ready with the DDF?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Dave,
absolutely.
I took off the total. So are these screens still good?
Yeah, we can use that. I was just looking at the last total. That was the one that was a mistake, but that's okay. All right, folks. So, some people keep asking us every single year, where do our funds come from? And how do we get those funds? And how are those allocations provided to each club? Well, these are published by our Rotary District 5000 at our Rotary District 5000 website. And if you look on the attachments that I put in the chat, you'll find a URL that shows you that exact form of the real form. This one is actually the right numbers, but I just abbreviated things so that we could talk about this in more detail without all of the other numbers that might scare you away. I mean, some people look at this and they kind of say, God, I lose it. I don't understand it. It's like looking at the matrix. I can't figure this stuff out. And some people are numbers people and just love going into this stuff and kind of playing with it. Some will think it's like looking at paint drying. I just lose it. I just can't figure this out. But when you look at this is kind of how it shows up on that form. You've got district designated funds, and that's the 100% of the money that's coming from us. And I'm sure you can't see my cursor, but anyway, it's 143,794. And then you see half of that, which is 71,897. And then another half of that, which is 71,897 for global grants. So the district grants, which is the DG, is what you're spending for all your district grants. And again, you folks need to understand that district grants don't mean that you have to spend the money only in your district. You can use it for international projects that are not a global grant. So somebody asked, can I use district grant funds? But you do need to submit those at the time that's necessary for those grants to be approved. So there are some funds that we take out of the district grant funds as a committee, and these are the Rotaract clubs. We provide some funds to help provide funding to the Rotaract clubs. Small and new clubs, we like to give them some seed money so that they're able to go out there and do some work because they haven't been able to generate funds yet. And we do that for a period of years until they get themselves going. And then there are some admin fees, and you see the 21.5, 56.91. So that dollar amount at the bottom of 68,170 is the bucket that we are looking at. That basically is the total amount of money that we are going to disseminate to all of the clubs. But how do we disseminate to all the clubs, and how do we do that fairly? Well, we do a little, as a District 5000, we take it as an average for the last 3 years of what your club contributed. So if you look at the Pono Rotary Club, and these are all fictitious names, that club did 10,771 for 19 and 20, and the year 19 and 20. And then for 2021, they did 9,529, and 21, they did 19,297. So that, if you take those, add all three of those up, and then divide them by 3, you get an average of 13,198. So how do we apply that? Well, if you had the total at the very bottom, there would be an average total, and that average total would be down here, and I believe it's $260,000, or I'll throw a number out there. And if you divide that into the total, the average, or the average into that total, you come up with 4.4%. So that means this Rotary Club, Pono Rotary Club, did 4.4% of everything that was accumulated for that year, for the average of those 3 years. And so that 4.4% that you see right there at the total percentage is the factor that we use to figure out how much is going to go into district designated funds and how much is going to go into global grant for each club. Now that's that particular club's percentage, but as you see, Sunrise Rotary Club had 0.4%, Aloha Rotary Club had 2.5%, and the Hana Ho Club had 1.2%. So those are the percentages that are used to figure out these FAR numbers, which are the DDF funds. So I'll go to the next slide, please. So here is the matching. Now this says 20% no match and 30% matching. So you folks know for district designated funds, the category in the middle, those are what we have coming back to us as either matched funds or no matched funds. And no match funds, that means it's just pure cash to you. You don't have to do anything to use that, and use those funds up right away, because that doesn't require you to have to give any money to match it. And the other is your matched funds. So that is what we call a 20% or 30%. People say, well, how does that work out? How does that 20% and 30%? Well, that's just the number that they apply that is used for just the funds that are used for district grants. And that 20% then factors out to $1,213 for the Pono Club and $1,820 for the matching funds. And that totals up to $3,033, which would match up exactly to that number that we talked about on the previous page. And then the other half of that, less the admin fees, is the global grants, which is $3,199. Now, everybody needs to understand that that global grant, all of that has to be matched in order for you to get 100% of that money. And there also is a 5% service fee. And that 5% service fee is 5% of what you are giving as cash. So that when you do a global grant, you do need to send in your check. And let's say your check is $3,199. Well, that isn't all. You got to add 5% to that. And then you send that to Rotary, and Rotary says, okay, it's completely funded once everybody in that global grant has sent in their funds. So I think is that the last of that? So that's kind of how it works out in a nutshell. There's a lot more detail that goes into this, and it takes a lot of time for this form to be filled out and worked on, and we try to get that out as soon as possible at the end of the year so that the clubs can know how much money that they're going to be. It's actually before the end of the year, sometimes around February, March timeframe. Is that right, Naomi?
Right.
So around February, March timeframe, we try to have that out for this year so that you'll know what you have to spend for next year. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer or try.
Questions?
Yeah, so I guess one of my areas of confusion has been looking at this 20% no match and 30% match.
Yeah.
Because I was always trying to figure it. I was like, that's not 20% of 3,033. It's 40% of 3,033. It's 20% of the last column, the DDF and global grant total.
Yeah, it's 20 and 30% of the DDF and that's how they do it. But if you want to look at just DDF, it is 60 and 40.
Right. Okay. That has been an area of confusion for me.
Yeah.
The other one, we say the share money comes back in 3 years, but it's not. It's an average over 3 years, right?
Well, not really. We do it as an average for 3 years because we want to make sure that the clubs aren't in our district aren't hampered by having a situation where 1 year we have a great year and next year, hey, somebody doesn't do their job and they tank on the foundation and it's a really low number. And then 3 years later, that president who's in charge of that year gets nothing, right? And so we try to do a 3-year average as far as the payout, but Rotary is only giving us the funds from the revenue that we've submitted 3 years ago. So it goes back 3 years and they give us the funds on that. And that's why you can't really, these factors and the percentages that I provided and I showed are really the allocation percentages of how much is going to be given back to you based on that percentage. But the nest egg that you get from Rotary is from 3 years ago.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right.
That clarified a lot of my questions about this.
It took me several years to figure that out too. So don't worry about it.
Cool. Thanks.
So I have a question, and that's, are we talking about funds that are generated by membership? So your number of members and the funds that go from your membership, does that go to Rotary International, and then those funds come back in addition to the funds that are given through TRF?
Well, it's not TRF. These are all annual giving funds. So when you give to annual giving, these are the funds that come back to you. When you give funds to Polio Plus, those don't come back to us. And I have to make the notation that it needs to be marked as shared. If you mark it as shared, then it comes back, but it's only the annual fund numbers that are coming back to us, not any of the other funds. So if you go disaster relief fund, or if you do a specified grant for like water projects, those aren't going to come back to us.
Okay, so for every member, there's a certain amount of money that goes to the Rotary Foundation that's used by the Rotary Foundation. It generates interest from the Rotary Foundation to run
the operation of Rotary International Central. Then those funds that are given to, through the membership also come back to the district, do they not? So your membership from 3 years ago is generating a fund that's going to Rotary International.
So the funds that were given, the annual funds that were given 3 years ago, a percentage of that does come back to us, not 100% of it, just a percentage of that. And so that comes back to us, and that's how we figure, then we apply our allocation, the allocation percentages based upon the average giving of 3 years for each club in that district. So
I'm not talking about the annual fund. I'm not talking about
anything through TRF. I'm not talking about anything that. I'm talking about the funds that go from as a member pays dues to a club, and then there's a fund. There's money that goes to Rotary International from that. It's what, $70 a half year or something. Those funds then are supposed to be returned to the club?
No, the funds that are given to Rotary International and the district for the operation of their work and our work is to pay for the magazines and also our administrative costs on the district level. So those don't come back. That is just the dues, and the dues are not something that comes back to the clubs.
Okay, so different districts work differently then.
And just to clarify, Rotary dues do not go through the Rotary Foundation.
Yes.
No, that's right. That's correct. They go to RI directly. Yes.
Yeah,
correct.
and that's for all districts.
That's for all districts. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess some clubs or some districts will collect in their dues some money for Rotary Foundation. And so if they do that, then that portion will go to the foundation. But for our district, we don't do that. I don't think that's encouraged, but for this DDF, the district designated funds, this is only the donations to the annual fund share. And so this is the only pocket that we're talking about right now that comes back to us for the projects. Okay, so we have another session on October 16th that we'll go over this again, and we'll go over the grant management portion for district grants. Okay, so I'd like to move on to reports. So Rick did show you the list of some of the reports that you can get in Rotary Club Central. You can go to the reports tab and go to foundation, and these are the reports that that were listed in Rick's presentation. So these are the ones that you want to take a look at. The one I wanted to point out today was the one on the Paul Harris Society. This is kind of nebulous, confusing, but let me talk about the Paul Harris Society. This is where someone pledges or commits to contribute $1,000 a year in the Rotary year to the annual fund or Polio Plus or an approved foundation grant, but it's $1,000 a year. And when Rotary looked at the pockets of people who give consistently, the Paul Harris Society and Sustaining Members groups are the ones that really contribute a lot to the foundation. So to become a Paul Harris Society member, they must complete a form. So if you're giving $1,000 a year, it doesn't necessarily make you a society member automatically. So when you pull up your club's report, the whole Paul Annual Society report, okay, so you're going to see that over here it says Paul Harris member, society member. That means they filled out the form, they did it online, and this is where you have a yes, they have pledged for 1,000. So people who give 1,000 but haven't signed the form, then they're eligible, or they gave in prior years, but they're not part of the society. So what we want to do is ask you to take a look at your club's reports and see if you can identify people that are giving $1,000 a year regularly, and ask them to please, if they could, fill out the Paul Harris Society form so that we can see and recognize them as a society member. And then they get this cool pin too. Right, Del, you got the pin on your lapel? Yeah, it's that chevron that's hanging from the pin. Carol, do you have a question about the reports?
I do. So thank you for bringing that one up. So it says both for the society, Paul Harris and the Polio Plus. So you have to sign up as a Polio Plus society member, and you have to pledge minimally of $100, correct? And then for Paul Harris, it's $1,000 a year. And you can do this monthly. Could you set up a monthly amount to be taken out?
Yes, you can do it as a direct and do it monthly. So the Polio Plus Society is $100, and that's separate. And I believe they're coming out with a report on that for clubs. But the Paul Harris Society is going to the Rotary Foundation, and so this is $1,000 a year. And they really recognize these people because they're consistent in giving for that $1,000. And some people don't want to sign up the form because they'll just give it to people as they go along, and they just want to give out of the goodness of their heart. But if you in your club can take a look at this report and ask them if they would like to sign up, that would be very helpful for Rotary to identify these people. So I want to also ask you to please, if you haven't already, ask your president or the foundation, you as a foundation chair can get into Rotary Club Central and enter the goals. We'd like you to put the goals for foundation and Polio Plus primarily, but also do the other goals so you can earn that Rotary citation. Okay, so we'll move on to Peace Centers. So Alan, talk about Peace Centers and Peace Fellowships.
Thanks, Naomi. So let me begin by saying that the most successful and sustainable projects and activities that Rotary does tend to fall within what we call the 7 areas of focus. And one of those, in fact, usually at the top of the list, is promoting peace. And this is where the Rotary Foundation established a fully funded fellowship program where students can attend the Peace Center universities that are throughout the world. And so there are 2 different kinds of degrees. There's a master's degree program, and there is the professional development certificate. Now, I know we're running out of time, so I'll keep it short. Basically, we have been able to graduate about 1,500 graduates from the program. Now, remember, I said it's a fully funded program. Tuition, expenses, travel, even support during your execution of the requirements of the degree are all covered. Now, what can you do as a member of District 5000? Well, number one, you can help to recruit these young individuals. Well, sometimes they're not as young as you might think. You must have a degree, a bachelor's degree from a university, and you must have a background in peace. So, as I've said many times before, return Peace Corps volunteers, those who have served in the Peace Corps, are ideal candidates because their 2 years abroad does count toward that, because they are actually doing work toward peace. Now, the other part that you can help with is to review the resumes and the essays that these candidates put forth. The first thing, as far as dates are concerned, is to remember February 1, because that's when the applications come out. And then May 15th is the next date, which is when the applications go into the peace centers, who will review and select the candidates. So the help is needed to recruit candidates, and the help is also needed to review the resumes and the essays. And we have had candidates come through over the years, and it's been good. Unfortunately, last year we didn't have a candidate to put forth to the peace centers, but the previous year we have a candidate who's headed off to the University of Queensland in Australia, having successfully been chosen as a candidate for the program. Any questions?
Thank you.
By the way, if you're interested in my presenting a more detailed version of this to your club, I'm used to putting together about a 15-20 minute program that I can go into greater detail about this. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let me talk about the Rotary alumni or alums are these categories. So if anyone has participated in any of these programs, they are automatically a Rotary alum. And so we'd like to identify them. So if you have any in your club that are in these categories, please let Steve Dyer know. We want to keep track of them, and hopefully they would be willing to speak at a session or at your club. Okay, so you can go to the Rotary website and the Rotary.org website and look up these categories and find out more about this alumni program. So the Friendship Exchange is where you can either physically in person or do a virtual exchange. It's a cultural exchange. So you share cultures, traditions. We did one with Russia 2 years ago where we did a cooking demonstration. They showed us how to make the borscht beets soup, and we showed them how to make a, Beth Hoban did a spam musubi recipe. But we get to know each other, build relationships, and really bridge that gap between countries and build goodwill. So if you would like to do a virtual exchange, if you do it with the interactors, that would be great. You find a club, your sister club maybe, and have the students get on Zoom, and they can share cultures. So resources that are available to you, there's a whole bunch in Rotary.org, the Rotary Club Central. You can sign up for a newsletter for polio, for giving. You can take courses on the Learning Center, really great ideas, and more on the Peace Fellowships is also there. So please check it out. Key takeaways for you. We'd like you, if you haven't, to put in the foundation goals in Rotary Club Central. We'd like you to, in your clubs, plan a World Polio Day event and encourage Polio Plus donations. Promote the Polio Plus Society. Plan for Foundation Month, which is in November, and find creative ways of getting donations. So if you can get that in November, that would be great. Check your Paul Harris Society member status with your club members. Find alumni. Find Peace Fellow applicants, or reach out to colleges for their international service, international studies programs. So you might find people who want master's degree. Then let's see, consider doing a virtual friendship exchange. And of course, there's a lot more, but like Rick said, if can, if no can, no can. But let's go to some of the questions in the chat. Let's see. Nancy says that there is a 3 o'clock Zoom session on the Singapore convention. And so we'll talk more about what it is in Singapore and about the convention and how to sign up for a room in the room block. Paul Harris Societies can include a spouse. And by the way, the money that we get back from the annual share, it does not necessarily have to come from members only. They can come from spouses. People give Paul Harris Society, Paul Harris Fellow donations in the name of their kids. And so they become a fellow. So this all can add up into the money that you get back to your club. So Paul Harris Society can include your spouse. Okay. What Ross, Paul Harris Society is a different, thank you. Ross?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. But okay, so what was your question?
Did I have one?
About Paul Harris Society and Paul Harris Fellow. Oh, you want the differentiation?
They're different because your Paul Harris Fellow, you can make that $1,000 contribution over time, where your Paul Harris Society member is $1,000 every year.
Okay. Yes, so that that's the distinction that the society is a pledge to make that $1,000 every year. Chris, your question about peace, I think is peace candidates in global grants. And so we've done that in the past, but sometimes it's hard to get that 30,000 for a global grant to fund a peace fellow for one person. Okay,
yeah. So it wasn't quite that wasn't quite my question. Yeah, I know that to get to $30,000 for that's fine. It's more a global grant around peace that's not a student. There are very few grants that go through under peace area focus that are actually projects on the ground, and that's what I'm just saying. Whereas WASH and BELRAG and others have substantial number of grants that go through for their areas of focus, but virtually very few projects come out of peace. And I was just saying that I would really like to see how we can focus more on where a project can be assembled around peace to get funds that build up that, I think it's only probably about $24 million a year that's being spent on peace projects right now, whereas probably up to $100 million a year are being spent on WASH projects. I'm just saying that the balance is not there across the whole of the areas of focus, that's all.
Well, the grants are done by the clubs, so the clubs need to decide what kind of projects they do. And remember that the peace is actually the cornerstone of all of the humanitarian projects that we do. So, if we wanted to do a peace project and it's humanitarian, then it's possible to pitch it to a club to sponsor it or to jump onto another district's grant and do that. And we'll check into the Paul Harris Society spousal designation, and we'll correct that in the slides. So the slides and the recording will be on the district website under quick links. So thank you, everybody. Kind of ran out of time. We went a little bit over. So if you want to stay on after we close out, then to ask questions, then we'll still be here. But remember that the team is available for speaking. And Del, do you want to close this out now?
Sure. We'll just close by saying thank you, everyone, for your participation. We certainly appreciate all that you do in your clubs. And if you have questions,